Hey everyone, welcome back. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to Decode Healthcare with Harshal. I am seriously so pumped for today's explainer because we are officially jumping into part 63 of our 100-part CPC exam series. We're tackling the HCPCS Level 2 Coding Masterclass today. This chunk right here, it's about 10% of your CPC exam, and nailing it is a total game changer. So let's just dive right in. So right off the bat, I've got a question for you. When you're staring at a medical chart, how do you actually distinguish between CPT and HCPCS coding? If you've ever felt a little, lost about which book to grab, trust me, you're not alone. Think of this explainer as your ultimate decoder ring for this specific section of the test. The main difference between these two code sets is actually pretty straightforward. CPT, or Level 1, is all about what the provider absolutely did, the actual services and procedures. But HCPCS Level 2? That is entirely about what was supplied or dispensed. We're talking products, durable medical equipment, and injectable drugs. These are standardized alphanumeric codes used mainly to bill Medicare, Medicaid, and commercial payers. And hey, here's a massive exam tip straight from the study guide. HCPCS Level 2 codes actually supersede CPT codes when specifically mandated by Medicare. Like, if you're coding a preventative screening, say an annual wellness visit for a Medicare patient, you absolutely don't use the standard CPT. You have to use a CMS temporary G code instead.
All right, let's build up that coding vocabulary with a little alphabet soup of high-yield categories. We're going to lock these mnemonics into your brain right now. Ready? A is for ambulance and supplies. B is for belly, as in enteral and parenteral therapy. C is for CMS outpatient pass-through codes. E is for equipment, your durable medical equipment like wheelchairs and oxygen concentrators. G codes are CMS temporary codes for professional services. J is for injectable and infused drugs, which is heavily tested, by the way. L is for limbs, so think orthotics and prosthetics. And finally, V is for vision, hearing, and speech. Lock those anchors in, and I promise you'll be flipping through that HCPCS book with lightning speed on exam day.
Okay, focus up for a second, because we're about to look at a huge CPC exam trap. When you're dealing with J codes for injectables, never ever just bill one unit simply because the patient got one injection. J code billing is dose-based, not event-based. So you have to follow this super simple three-step math rule. First, check the exact descriptor dosage right there in your codebook. Second, look at the administered amount in the provider's notes. And third, just divide the administered amount by that descriptor dosage, and boom, that gives you your billing units.
Let's hammer that math home with a really quick example. Say a doctor administers 50 milligrams of a drug. You look up the J code, and the descriptor clearly says it's per 10 milligrams. So you take the 50 milligrams administered, divide it by the 10 milligram descriptor, and you get exactly 5 billing units. If you just went ahead and coded one unit, you'd be severely underbilling, and on the exam, that is an automatic wrong answer. Always, always let that code descriptor be your ultimate source of truth.
And while we're on the subject of drugs, we absolutely have to talk about Medicare's really strict waste handling rules. For single-dose files, you are going to see the JW and JZ modifiers all the time. Modifier JW is used to report the exact amount of a drug that was discarded or wasted. On the flip side, if the provider uses the whole vial and literally zero drug is wasted, you have to append the JZ modifier. It is a very strict compliance check, so keep your eyes peeled for those waste details in your exam scenarios.
All right, let's slide right into our Modifiers masterclass, kicking things off with anatomical modifiers. These add pinpoint specificity to your claims. E1 through E4 designate specific eyelids. FA and F1 through F9 map out the fingers. TA and T1 through T9 chart the toes. And then, of course, LT for the left side and RT for the right side. If an exam question mentions, say, a custom orthotic for the left ankle, and you forget that LT modifier, you just lost a totally avoidable scoring point.
Moving right along, let's talk durable medical equipment, or DME modifiers. The source material really stresses that DME claims get denied all the time simply because they're missing these tiny two-letter codes. R stands for rental. Think of a capped monthly rental for a hospital bed. And U means it's a brand new equipment purchase, and UE designates a used equipment purchase. Leaving off an NU or an RR on a wheelchair claim is a guaranteed trap on the test, so anytime you see equipment in a scenario, instantly ask yourself, wait, is this being rented or bought?
Next up, ambulance transport coding. This actually uses a really fascinating two-letter map to chart the patient's exact journey from point A to point B. The first letter is always the origin, and the second letter is the destination. For instance, if a patient goes from a nursing facility, which is N, to the hospital, which is H, your modifier is NH. If they go from the scene of an accident, S, to a diagnostic center, D, it's SD. Honestly, it's a brilliantly simple system once you just know what the letters stand for.
Now, wrapping your head around Advanced Beneficiary Notices, or ABNs, is absolutely crucial for compliance and shifting liability on Medicare claims. GA means you have a signed waiver of liability on file. That is your safety net. GY means the service is statutorily excluded from Medicare entirely, but listen closely to this one. GZ. GZ means you are expecting a denial, but you do not have a signed ABN on file. Using GZ is a severe compliance and financial risk. The exam absolutely loves testing if you know the difference between the safety of GA and the total danger of GZ.
Okay, we've covered a massive amount of ground today, so I highly recommend you take a quick screenshot of this one-page summary cheat sheet. It pretty much wraps up everything you need to conquer the HCPCS Level 2 section on the CPC exam. It's got our high-yield category mnemonics, that critical 3-step J-code mouth formula, and all the essential anatomical, DME, and ABN modifiers. Seriously, save this to your phone and give it a look before test day.
You guys are doing fantastic, and honestly, we are just getting warmed up. In our next explainer, Part 64, we're going deep into the really tricky CPT, surgical, and evaluation modifiers. We're talking 22, 24, 25, 26, 50, 51, and 52. Until then, I want to leave you with this thought. How much revenue do you think your practice is losing right now just because a tiny 2-letter modifier was left blank? Study those HCPCS codes, practice your J-code math, and I will see you in the next explainer to decode even more.